Imagine being stripped of your clothes, your heated home, and your grocery store, then dropped bare-skinned into a winter so brutal it could freeze you to death in your sleep. For hundreds of thousands of years, this wasn't a nightmare, it was daily life. As hairless primates born for the African heat, humans should have been the very first things to die out when the Ice Age turned the planet into a frozen wasteland. Yet, against all biological odds, our ancestors didn't just survive, they conquered the cold. Make sure to watch until the very end of this video, because we are uncovering the untold story of how close we came to absolute extinction and the genius inventions that kept humanity alive. 1. The paradox of modern comfort and our biological vulnerability. Every day, we experience an effortless warmth that we completely take for granted. We adjust a thermostat, throw on a synthetic jacket that required no hunting to produce, and retrieve preserved food from a refrigerator without considering the monumental evolutionary shift these luxuries represent. Stripped of these modern innovations, the human body is remarkably ill-equipped for extreme environments. Unlike the fauna that thrived during the Pleistocene epoch, such as the woolly mammoth with its dense fur, or the cave bear capable of metabolic hibernation, Homo sapiens evolved in the tropical warmth of Africa. Biologically, we possess no thick insulating blubber, no protective pelage, and no innate physiological mechanism to slow our heart rate and sleep through sub-zero temperatures. If you were placed naked in a glacial blizzard, hypothermia would claim your life in a matter of hours. Yet, against all mathematical and biological odds, our ancestors survived the planet's most hostile ice ages. We are the living, breathing evidence of their unbroken chain of survival. Every single one of them fought a relentless, high-stakes battle against an unforgiving winter they absolutely could not afford to lose. If you find this journey of human resilience inspiring and want to uncover more forgotten chapters of our collective history, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. By joining our community, you will never miss an episode as we continue to explore the incredible strategies that kept humanity alive against all odds. Let us dive deeper into exactly how these vulnerable, hairless primates managed to outsmart the deadliest weather this planet has ever seen. 2. The technological mastery of fire and advanced needlework. Human survival in the deep freeze was not a matter of luck. It was driven by a sequence of brilliant technological innovations that compensated for our lack of physical defenses. While early hominids had used fire for hundreds of thousands of years, Upper Paleolithic humans elevated pyrotechnology to an advanced science. Archaeological excavations in places like Ukraine have revealed highly engineered hearths capable of burning at temperatures exceeding 600 degrees Celsius. When wood became scarce on the barren, windswept tundras, these resourceful hunters adapted by burning animal bone and rendered fat, transforming skeletal remains into high-calorie fuel. However, fire alone was insufficient because its warmth was stationary. To carry heat into the frozen wilderness, humans pioneered the world's first tailored clothing. While basic animal pelts had been used as rudimentary capes for millennia, the invention of the eyed bone and ivory needle around 30,000 years ago changed everything. This tiny tool allowed for the creation of form-fitting, multi-layered garments with sealed seams, fitted sleeves, and integrated hoods. This precise tailoring trapped a microclimate of warm air next to the skin, preventing deadly drafts. Early modern humans utilized diverse materials, matching deer hide for wind resistance with waterproof boots lined with insulating moss. They even smeared their faces with animal tallow to create a chemical barrier against frostbite and carved narrow slits into bone eyewear to prevent the debilitating effects of snow blindness, effectively creating the world's first sunglasses. 3. Engineering megafauna architecture and subterranean insulation. As the ice sheets advanced, traditional shelters like natural caves became scarce, forcing human populations to become innovative architects on the open, treeless steppes. In regions across modern-day Russia and Ukraine, communities constructed sophisticated semi-permanent homes using the bones of the very giants they hunted, the mammoth. These massive structures were marvels of prehistoric engineering, utilizing heavy mammoth skulls and jawbones as deeply anchored foundations to withstand howling Arctic winds. Curved tusks and long ribs were intricately interlocked to form a self-supporting dome-like roof skeleton, which was then draped with heavy hides and packed tightly with turf, moss, and earth. These bone huts were not temporary camps. Evidence shows they were occupied and maintained across generations. Crucially, the internal architecture incorporated advanced thermodynamic principles. Many of these dwellings featured a cold trap entrance, where the doorway was excavated significantly lower than the elevated interior living and sleeping quarters. Because cold air is denser and heavier, it naturally sank into the entry trench, effectively sealing the warmer, rising air inside the main chamber. Additionally, these ancient builders recognized that snow, despite its cold nature, is an exceptional thermal insulator due to its trapped air pockets. By deliberately packing thick banks of snow against the external walls, they stabilized internal temperatures near freezing, shielding families from the lethal -30-degree gales raging just outside their doors. 4. Strategic food preservation and collective hunting dynamics. Surviving the physical cold was only half the battle. The true silent killer of the Ice Age was seasonal starvation. During the bleakest months of the glacial winter, gathering plant matter was impossible, and migratory game vanished, forcing humans to develop sophisticated systems of food preservation and long-term resource management. When a large-scale kill was made, communities shifted from immediate consumption to systematic processing. Utilizing the natural environment as a massive deep freezer, they cached meat in permafrost pits, and subterranean cellars dug deep into the frozen earth. In some instances, hunters even submerged butchered mammoth meat into icy ponds, weighted down by heavy stones, creating a low-oxygen, chilled environment that acted as a prehistoric refrigerator. To extend the shelf life of their provisions, they mastered dehydration and curing techniques, converting lean muscle into durable jerky, smoking fish, and stockpiling dried wild berries. This meticulous economy of survival meant that virtually 0 calories were wasted. Even marrow was extracted from deep within long bones. This resource security was sustained by highly organized, cooperative hunting strategies. At specialized geographical choke points, such as the limestone cliffs in eastern France, multi-generational hunting parties utilized fire and coordinated teamwork to drive entire herds of wild horses and reindeer into natural topographic traps. These highly calculated mass harvests provided the massive caloric surpluses necessary to sustain large human groups through months of complete ecological dormancy. 5. Sociothermal dynamics and evolutionary adaptations. The ultimate triumph over the Ice Age relied heavily on social cohesion and, in extreme cases, radical biological and behavioral adaptations. Unlike modern society, which prioritizes individualism and personal space, ancestral survival depended on high-density communal living. Packing multiple families into a single insulated shelter was a deliberate strategy to harness collective body heat, transforming the domestic space into a living furnace. In these tight-knit groups, isolation was synonymous with death, as the elderly or solitary individuals lacked the shared metabolic warmth necessary to survive sudden, severe cold snaps. However, social harmony was not universal. When resources grew catastrophically scarce, archaeological evidence indicates that some human groups resorted to desperate survival cannibalism to endure the absolute worst seasonal crises. Furthermore, where technology fell short, biology and historical ingenuity stepped in. Certain populations underwent physiological shifts. For example, the indigenous Yagan people of Tierra del Fuego adapted to subantarctic environments by elevating their core metabolic rates to generate internal heat, utilizing a compact squatting posture to minimize surface area radiation. Centuries later, historical European peasants replicated animal-assisted heating by housing livestock on the ground floor of their dwellings, using the rising body heat of cattle to warm the human quarters above. Ultimately, the transition from building houses out of mammoth skulls to controlling indoor climates with a digital button occurred in a mere fraction of evolutionary time, transforming the greatest existential threat our species ever faced into a minor modern inconvenience.